Hi everybody. Hello, can everybody hear me? Yeah, yeah. Welcome to Transgender Awareness Week. My name is Deborah, and on the behalf of Shevad Invest, I would like to welcome you here. And before we start, I would just like to remind everybody of being mindful of others people's spaces and boundaries, and also please ask for consent before taking picture or posting them on Facebook. So this year we have a lot of events. We have panel discussions, we have workshops, and also we have social events, and you can find those on Transgender Awareness Facebook page and also Instagram. Before I end, I would just like to say that we have an event in Arabic. We have a workshop tomorrow and also a panel discussion on Thursday. So I'd like to thank everybody that has been involved in making this happen. So I would like to thank PKI and Fri Vestland and also Bergen Kjøtt. So I would like to welcome Tonja from Fri Vestland. She would like to say hi to everybody, and yeah.
Hi everyone. I'm so proud to be here today on behalf of the board in Fri Vestland. And I think it's so very nice that we can cooperate and make this event. It's strange to be here after quite some rough years, and there has been so many changes. And when I came into the trans community, I was a part of HBRS, which all of you probably have heard of, the very conservative association for trans people in Norway. And what happened was that we was actually thrown out. The whole Vestland board was executed from the organization because we was using the word trans, and we had some demonstrations where we said that we was trans enough and that we want to break the monopoly in the Rikshospitalet. And that wasn't very well perceived by the organization. And that was one of the start points of PKI. And the years that has gone from that point till where we stand now, where PKI is really a thriving organization, and all you young people will have the energy and go into the fight. And what's happened this summer, where PKI was really taking so much responsibility after the terror in Oslo. I was crying, feeling proud, and what I can say is that the board in Fri Vestland is really on your side, and we are really wanting to be a part of a family, not to do wrong stuff. We want to do the right stuff. We want to learn. And I'm so really happy to introduce Isak, and I think we have a history, and it's a nice one, and it's getting better, and it's the future we are going for. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tonja and Deborah. I just want to talk a little bit about Transgender Awareness Week. It's an opportunity for allies, educators, and the community to increase visibility of the transgender community and to raise awareness of the experiences of transgender and gender diverse people who often face hostile environments We want to give tools for our allies and our community by hosting different workshops, conversations, and lectures. In today's climate, I believe that awareness of the challenges faced by trans people is not enough. So we're calling on our supporters and the wider community to use Trans Awareness Week to mobilize, to move, and to transform awareness into action. That we all have a conscious awareness of to highlight and raise up voices when you can. If you have a platform, use it to share stories that aren't always heard. Remember to make space for those who traditionally wouldn't have it. And one does not have to fully understand someone's identity in order to respect them. There are times when I am happy to explain myself to cisgender and straight allies to better understand the LGBTQ+ community. There are other times and moments where I kindly direct them to websites that can help answer their questions. Regardless of where and when they get the information, I hope that the underlying mutual respect lives through it all. And if someone is having a difficult time processing one's gender identity journey, they should not process it with the person going through the journey unless there is an explicit confirmation that that is okay to do so. As we continue to raise awareness and learn about the transgender non-binary community, let's do this with open hearts, minds and ears. I encourage allies to do their very best and to do their own research when they have a question, just as much as they would ask a trans non-binary person. Also, it's okay to mess up. Regarding information, we are all still learning and growing as people, so let's do that together. So I just want to welcome everybody to Trans Awareness Week 2022. The program is packed with many things to learn and to discuss and workshops, so yeah, welcome. Am I doing the orientation now? Yeah? Okay. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the days. So today is the opening. And later on, there's going to be music by Ike, who is a great musician. The time is a bit off, but they're only going to play for 15 minutes rather than an hour. And then there will be a panel discussion with me and Tonje and Vero, who is the deputy leader of PKI. On the 13th, tomorrow, there will be a Sojisk workshop in English on Zoom. And from 3:30 to 8, there will be a Sojisk workshop just in Arabic on Zoom. So I urge you to go on Facebook or Instagram to look at all of the events where all the links are. And if there is any questions, you can also send us an email or send us a message. Or talk to us after. On Monday, we will have a podcast, which will be pre-recorded with Drastic Social. So Bertha, who's also behind the streaming, is going to be hosting the podcast with me. And then I'm very excited that we're going to have ballroom workshops on Monday as well, from 2 to 5, which will be at Kode 1, a festsalen, with Samara from Sweden. And then in the evening, there will be a grip workshop with Martina that will be here at 5 to 8. And then on Tuesday, there will be another ballroom workshop with Caboose. And I know it says in the program at Bergen Kjøtt, but it will probably be at Studio Bergen, Carte Blanche instead. But the time is correct. It's from 12 to 3:15. And then we have Ingunn Vik from HKS, the health station for gender and sexuality in Oslo, to come and have a lecture. Who's the department head at HKS. And then at 6:30 to 8, there will be gender identity as a controversial topic in school. And then from 8 to 10, there will be Diversity Cafe, which will be downstairs, in the downstairs space. And it's all the cafes, like we have Trans Cafe, Queer Cafe, and Diversity Cafe, will be in the downstairs space. And then on Wednesday, the 16th of November, there will be a live podcast on that Bertha will also host, and then I will also be there. But there you can actually send us questions directly if you'd like. And then from 5 to 6, Sigrid Sandal and Dime. I hope that's how you pronounce it. Is it Dime or is it Dime? Dime, okay. Which is going to be really exciting because it's about law and history about trans people. And then at 6:30 to 8, there will be a presentation and sofa discussion. And then Trans Cafe from 8 to 10. Thursday, 17th of November, there will be Arab Trans in Arabic with Sunilla and Raphael, right? Yeah. And then from 5 to 6, there will be Literature and Theatre, also with Sunilla and Raphael. And then from 6:30 to 8, is also the one Literature and Theatre will be in English, but the one before that will be in Arabic. I know that you probably won't remember all of this, so I urge you to go check out the program. 6:30 to 8, community building and mental health with Skeiverden's Viola, if I'm not mistaken. And then Friday, 18th of November, there will be a Zine workshop, which is where you can come together and make like a mini magazine. And then I'm very excited about the concert with Jezebel, who's coming all the way from Oslo to have a concert here with us at Bergen Kjøtt. I urge you all to come. And then the Saturday, the 19th, there will be a verbal self-defense workshop with Vero, digitally. And then from 5 to 6, there will be a lecture with Ingrid Tunem, which will be on Zoom. And then on the 20th, there will be a commemoration and cop kino in front of Bergen Kunsthall from 4 to 5, where we will be serving hot cocoa, right? Yeah, hot cocoa, and then we're going to have like a little walk as well after. So, yeah. So that's the orientation. You probably won't remember anything that I said, but the program is out, so you can just go and look at it. Thank you so much. I think we're going to have a little break now. So the bar is open, and then, well, yeah, come back at 6:30. So it's just to hang out and get yourself a drink, and we can put some music on as well as we wait. Thank you. Hello. Yeah. Ooh. I just want to say that we also have. No, the stream is not on, is it? But that's okay. Okay, the stream is still on. But what I want to say, we have T-shirts and hoodies, and we will find the Vips number, but they're 120 krona. We don't earn anything on the T-shirts, and the hoodies are 400. And then you can decide if you want to donate more or not. But then you can go check them out over there. Thank you.
Cool. Hei! Vi Eik og Johan, to ikke-binære musikere som studerer musikkterapi ved Universitetet i Bergen. Vi skal spille 2 låter i dag og lese et dikt, så len dere tilbake og kos dere. Første sang heter Bestevenn. Helt siden jeg var 7 år, har jeg aldri tenkt jeg kunne få en som var bare grei, en som ble og ikke stakk sin vei. Men så kom du, og lite visste jeg at livet skulle snu. Fra ensomme netter og tunge dager, fra bare drit til full av latter. Den effekten har du på meg. Med deg føles ingenting feil, for hun min beste venn, og jeg trenger ingen andre enn dem. For når himmelen grå og jeg bare gråter, sier hun forsiktig, det går bra, det går over. Før jeg ble kjent med deg, hadde jeg gitt opp, var ganske lei. Følte ingen visste hvem jeg var. Følte meg alene, følte meg rar. Men så kom du, og lite visste jeg at livet skulle snu. Det klart jeg blir trist når jeg tenker på den dagen. Tror det blir en del tårer når vi sier ha det og gå. Men jeg vet du ikke glemmer meg. Og når du på perm, så står jeg klar og venter på deg. For du Tusen takk. Nå skal jeg lese et dikt som heter «Når jeg tenker på deg». Når jeg tenker på deg, tenker jeg på meg inni hodet ditt. Når jeg tenker på deg, det akkurat som om jeg legger meg ned på gulvet og synker. Synker inn i et parallelt univers. Når jeg tenker på deg, tenker jeg på meg på fanget ditt. Når jeg tenker på deg, det akkurat som tiden stopper, og alle klokker blir ødelagt. Verden forlatt, og bare vi to står igjen. Når jeg tenker på deg, tenker jeg på meg i armene dine, og hvor fint det der. Når jeg tenker på deg, det akkurat som livet komplett, som om jeg har fått pose i sekk, kjærlighet servert på gullfat, uten at jeg har mast noen ting i det hele tatt. For når jeg tenker på deg, så tenker jeg på hvor plutselig du kom til meg og blei igjen. Og da smiler jeg. Ikke et sånt smil du kan se på munnen, ikke et sånt smil du kan se i øynene, men et sånt smil du bare kan føle, kjenne, kanskje lukte. For nå stråler jeg, solen din har inntatt meg, lyset så vakkert og varmt permanent brodert i alle cellene mine, og jeg har akseptert at du kommet for å bli. Hva var det jeg ville si? Tusen takk til Trans Awareness Week og Bergen Kjøtt for at vi har fått lov til å spille her for dere i dag. Vi håper dere har kost dere, og nå kommer den siste sangen som heter Magisk. Hver gang jeg ser deg le, går alt annet langt av sted. Det så nydelig som magi. Du magisk for sommerfuglene surrer rundt i magen og tar over for all logikk. Hver gang jeg ser deg streife forbi, og jeg lover om du tar meg på ordet, skal jeg gjøre alt i min makt for å bevise du alt jeg vil ha. For jeg vet du rett for meg. Hør hva jeg vil fortelle deg. Det ingen andre i rommet, stolene tomme, alt jeg ser deg. Og når dagen omme, kan mørket bare komme. Tusen takk. Takk for oss.
Okay, it's on. It's on. All right. Hello. Unfortunately, due to some planning issues, you are now going to have to listen to me. I offer my apologies on behalf of Poji, who I definitely speak on behalf of. If you have any complaints, take that to Isaac, who's definitely responsible for everything I'm about to say. So, I'm really happy with Trans Awareness Week being a thing. I really like being aware. As one of the transgenders, it's very great to have 1 week of the year where I actually have awareness. The rest of the year, I'm not aware, just like how I'm invisible right now, because it's not Trans Day of Visibility. It's going to be very unfortunate at the end of next week when Trans Awareness Week ends, and I once again no longer am aware of anything. But that's just one of the many problems faced by us trans people. It wasn't like this, of course. I mean, I only came out as trans at the start of this year, in February. It's a very interesting process because, I'm a very combative kind of person. So I was all ready for conflict. I was coiled up. I was ready to fight for myself. And I was like, you cisgender, heterosexual men in my office will be shocked and appalled, for I am a transgender. And they were all like, okay, cool. And I was like, okay, great. I don't have to fight for myself. That's really cool. I was expecting a bit of fight. Could you fight me a little bit on this? I was expecting to have to ally up with the gay dude and convince you all with my charm and wit, but I guess not. Okay, fine. So it has certainly been a year. One of the years of all time. That's definitely a year to be LGBT of any sort. Very much a year. And transitioning has been very interesting, especially noticing how people have changed their perception of me. Because at the start, I would not shut up about being trans. I just would not shut up about it. I would come to the office and I would be like, hey, you know what's happening with my transition today? Hey, coworker who I've known for a couple of months, would you like to know the contents of my blood? My testosterone levels right now are this, my estrogen levels are this. Here's creatine, which I don't even know why we're testing this, but it sure is a thing we test. By the way, here's how my voice progress is going. I'm making sounds like this now. So I would actually do that. And I think they've gotten used to this idea of me being extremely obviously trans, because now they will bring it up out of nowhere. And I've gotten tired of the joke at this point. At this point, I'm ready to move on. I can just be like, yeah, me being trans, it's a thing. You don't have to call attention to it every time. And they're like, wasn't it funny that one time you changed your gender? And I'm just sitting here like, well, your trans joke certainly could use some work. but I'm glad you're supportive. But I am still used to the idea that it's obvious to everyone around me that I'm trans. And it's starting to sink in that this is not the case. I was at this support group thing a while back. I can't specify many details because it was all confidential. But at one point, I was like, I was going to present what my issue was, and my issue was, you know, being transgender in 2022 is the issue. So I was like, yeah, so in case it wasn't obvious, I'm trans. And then it was just a moment of total silence. And I'm just sitting there realizing, oh shit, it was not obvious. And then they were just like, it was not obvious. It was, no, this is not obvious at all, actually. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, right. Most people don't actually go around expecting random strangers to be trans. I forgot about that. I mean, I don't go out a lot. It's probably part of the reason why I haven't noticed this before. I'm an indoor gay. I don't go partying. I don't go to like the clubs that everyone loves to portray gay people as going to and all that stuff. I sit inside and watch cartoons for children and play board games. That's what I do. Gay cartoons for gay children, to be clear, like Steven Universe. So, you know, not a lot of opportunities to test how obviously queer I am. Sometimes I have to go to the bathroom. I changed bathrooms when, you know, I was going into the bathroom, going into the men's bathroom, minding my own business, and a guy comes in the door, and he's just like, and he moves out, and he's checking the door sign, and he's back in, and he's like, what? That was the sign that it was time to change bathrooms for me. I did not expect that in like March. I mean, I sometimes get the impression that I'm frustrating to other trans girls just because of how fast things have worked out for me. And also the fact that I just won't shut up about it. I know it annoys my girlfriend a lot. So, I mean, I was prepared for so much hardship and conflict and insensitive questions. Like, I think pretty much every trans girl has heard about the, oh, you're trans? Have you had the surgery yet question? I certainly heard about it, and I was preparing one-liners, clever, witty little responses if I ever got it. Like, oh, well, you're asking about my genitals? How are your genitals? How's your dick? How thick is it? Is it flappy? How's your vagina? Does it have the hangy bits? Do you see how invasive and weird this is? Yes, let me just tell you my entire medical history, actually. Unfortunately, I've gotten no use out of any of them because nobody's asked. Everyone is too nice around me. Oh yes, I'm complaining about people being too nice to me. Because I'm a combative bitch. I feed off conflict. I'm on Twitter. So, the thing I do get, though, is people who are trying to be nice, but they're just clueless. And they can honestly be really funny. Like, they will just be, you know, trying to be sensitive, trying to be nice, and they'll just be like, so how is your transformation feeling? When did you find out that you were born in a not wrong, but, you know, a body that is, and I'm not saying there's anything bad, a body that is not fun to you, and I'm just like, I'm trans. I'm a tranny. Just say it. Just say the slur. It would be faster. And they'll just keep going. You know, us people who are not naturally, not norm. No, cis. The word is cis. Can you say cis? What's cis? Oh, okay, fine. No, okay. Cis. And you know, they will ask all these questions. Good faith, innocent. They're trying. So when are you done with hormones? That's not how hormones work. I am not going to be done with hormones until like menopause or something. I don't know. When they pry them out of my cold dead hands during the turf uprising, many weird questions. Like there was a person at my job who shall remain anonymous. He was asking about my relationship, and he was like, "So you identify as a woman, yes? Yes. And your girlfriend is a woman, correct? So that would mean, and don't get mad at me if I get this wrong, right? If you are a woman and your girlfriend is a woman, does that mean you are, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, does that make you a lesbian?" Yes. Well, I don't understand this at all. What trans lesbian? I don't get it. It's so weird how certain people get hung up on these things. I mean, you would think trans lesbian was easy to understand. It's trans woman. You'd think everyone's gotten on board with what a trans woman is right now. They're like the most, we're like the most mainstream understood idea of a trans person. We're the thing that trans dudes keep getting mistaken for by guys who expect every trans person to be a trans woman. Or not really a trans woman though. They expect their idea of a trans woman, which is a drag queen except less hot. And like, you would think people understood the basics of what a trans woman is, but they don't. They're still stuck on like, oh, ever since I was a 4-year-old, I played with mom's makeup and dolls that she had even though she was 40 years old. I don't know. And, you know, you would think that as someone who teaches physics undergrads, I would be able to get some of my coworkers on board with these basic ideas like trans lesbian. No. Trans lesbian is harder than quantum physics. Apparently. They, them pronouns are harder than quantum physics. Having sex as a trans lesbian is harder than quantum physics, and that's more of a thing that I've experienced myself. How does this work? There's no sex ed for trans people. You learn how to do heterosexual cisgender sex. It's like you put the pee-pee in the hole and then you make a baby. Okay, so problem number one, neither of us has a baby making hole. Problem number two, our dicks don't really work the same they used to. Problem number three, it takes like an hour to get horny. How do we speedrun this? Problem number four, how do we stay horny? Problem number five, there are no guides on how to do this on the internet. I'm like a 12-year-old Googling, how do I have sex? And there's some talk about the Zine that someone made once. There are 10 copies in existence. It's called How to Fuck Trans Women. Apparently it exists. There's some technique in there called muffing. It sounds incredibly unappealing to actually try. I have no idea what's going on. Anyway, TMI. Here's another funny work story. So, there was this guy, right? No, this story is for later. I went to France earlier this year. And France was really interesting because France was my first experience with purely strangers since coming out. And I was walking around there and, you know, people were going like, oh, that's Joanne, she, her, she, her, she, her, she, her, she, her, she, her. And I was just sitting there like, wow, these people are really good trans allies. I didn't expect that. They didn't ask for my pronouns or anything. And then later on, I was just like, wait, no, they are not really good trans allies. They just think I'm a cis woman. And that was really weird. So I started having fun with it. Like, I would just be like, well, yeah, so, you know, I don't have a lot of clothes. Oh, why? Wardrobe caught on fire. Insurance screwed me. Yeah, nothing I can do about it. Clothes are expensive. You know, yeah, there was a guy who used to work at my department with my exact skill set. He got hit by a bus, and then I had to take over for him. You know, just little jokes like that. For some reason, it suddenly got very hard to talk about being trans. For some reason, I suddenly managed to finally shut the fuck up about being trans when everyone just thought I was a cis woman. And, you know, I would trans issues came up a couple of times. I would pitch in, of course. I would be surprisingly knowledgeable on trans issues. They actually said that. At one point, I went like, yeah, I mean, you get all these dudes who are just like, don't you know, there are only 2 biological genders. And they were just like, is that your best man impression? And I was sitting there like, they don't think I can do a better man impression. Holy shit. This is the best opportunity I've ever had to shock them. So I'm like building up. I'm going to deliver my best man voice. And I go, that is far from my best man voice. I can do a way better man voice. This is not that man voice. It's heating up. It's warming up. Don't worry. It's not. This is not my ideal man voice. I swear, I can do a better man voice than this. And they bought it because I was faking. I swear. That was specifically my cis woman doing an impression of a guy voice. So, conversation keeps going. I'm having fun, blah, blah, blah. And then, in the middle of some entirely unrelated subject, I go, well. And I've forgotten the rest of the sentence. It wouldn't make sense anyway. You can't just refer to a single phrase in a conversation out of context. That's not how that works. But yes, there were some fun conversations at this conference, including at one point, this guy I was sure had figured me out. He had caught me. I was so sure, because he was just like, "So are you on Tumblr a lot?" And I was like, I mean, I have a Tumblr. Oh, and what fandoms are you into then? Do you watch a lot of Supernatural, Sherlock, Doctor Who? And I was just like, I mean, yes, I have seen all those shows. All right. You watch a lot of ContraPoints. And for those of you who don't know, ContraPoints is a YouTuber who is a trans woman who talks about being trans and politics. That's her entire deal. She's a political trans YouTuber. And it was so out of nowhere. And I was just like, is this your way of trying to say you've clocked me? I was like, what? I'm asking, have you clocked me? Have you spotted down trans? What? No, I was just making conversation. I was just like, well, shit, I just outed myself. And then the conversation kept going, you know, it's fine. He was fine with it. He's a trans ally. Everything's okay. Later, I realized how poor a judge of character he was, because he was like, well, I wouldn't take you for someone who argues a lot on Twitter. And, well, no. He was very wrong. I only argue on Twitter. Finally, another funny trans at work story. There was this guy in my department who I worked kind of closely with in December last year. We arranged a conference together and stuff. And then it disappeared into like October. He was in South Korea or something. I have no idea what was going on there. He was just gone. So he came back. And we were all going to have lunch and just, you know, welcome him back. How was your trip? So-and-so, blah, blah, blah. So we all sat down. He was there. And he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, hello. I haven't seen you before. Are you visiting?" And I'm just looking at him like, "You're my supervisor." And he's like, "What?" So you haven't been told that I transitioned? And he's just even more confused, and he just kept getting more and more and more confused as I tried to explain what was going on until it clicked, and it was like, impressive. And everyone around me was just very confused because, you know, they've seen this happen gradually. They haven't seen the entire transition process so far, so they were just like, well, nothing's changed. It's always the guys who you've been away from for a while who are the best test when you're trying to figure out how this is all going, and that was hilarious. And now I am going to check my notes for what the punchline to this whole thing was. Or actually for what my exit line was. And my exit line is, remember to introduce Ike. Scratch that, do not introduce Ike, they already went, dumbass.
Hello. Yeah, I just want to also say there is we're collaborating with Kjøtt Archive, so there is some pictures on this wall that Anna and Alma has done, and I recommend going looking at the pictures as well. And then at 7:30, yeah, you're early. And then at 7:30, we will be back for the panel discussion. So just enjoy yourself, and then we'll see each other soon. Bye.
hallo.
Er alle koblet? Ja.
Hello. We're gonna start the panel conversation soon, so I would ask you to come to your seats. Thank you. Come to your screens. Yeah, great. My name is Isaac Bradley. I'm the leader of PECOI, which is the Patient Organization for Gender Incongruence, or in short, POGI in English. And my deputy leader, Vero, will be leading the conversation, not me. So take it. You can introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, okay, you wanted to do me first.
And then Tony can.
So my name is Vero. I have they, them pronouns, trans-masculine, non-binary. And I'm the second deputy of PECOI, or POGI. And I think it's the best in the English translation. And yeah, I was here the last year as well, so it's nice to be back. Yeah, and I guess we get to know each other more during the conversation. And then we have Tonja.
Yes, my name is Tonja Havstad, and I'm a board member of Fri Vestland. But I'm also a trans woman, and I have, since I've transitioned, I've educated myself as a wooden boat builder. But I'm doing two things. So at the same time now, I'm taking a master at the University of Bergen in politics. So that's what I'm doing these days.
Nice. And then we have our excellent translators as well. So thank you for helping us with the conversation. So we are going to, I started to talk a little bit that I was here last year, so I wanted to kind of like summarize what has happened since the last TOV. And there's so much stuff that happens all the time within like the trans community and trans politics and LGBT area in general. So I'm trying to do this kind of in order, but it might not be. So we had the start of 2022, if you remember, at the NRK-debatten, we had the trans debate going on with Kristine Marie Jentoft and Alexander Sørli that went in and had quite the debate going on, and everything that led up to that debate and everything that came after that debate as well. So a big shout out to Kristine Marie and Alexander for that tremendous work that they did during that debate and everything that they faced during that debate. And then we had the General Assembly in PECOI, and Alexander stepped down from being the leader, and Isak took that place. And then we had early spring, and mostly during May, we had what we call the HKS-krisa, the health station for gender and sexuality in Oslo, where what happened is that Riksen, what's that in English? Nasjonalbehandlingstjeneste?
National Treatment Center it's for gender incongruence, but transsexualism, because they don't treat everyone with gender incongruence.
I think I'm just going to say Riksen from now on, and then, that will just apply. So Riksen sent a warning to Statsforvalteren in Viken. So that's a part of the bureaucracy, and kind of like claimed that HKS was doing irresponsible treatment and so on. And then what happens is that the level of knowledge, the competence within the bureaucracy, within government is so low that they, without any reflection, just go straight in. The bydelsoverlege wants to shut it down straight away because they don't know what this is about or anything. And then all of a sudden, overnight almost, you have all these young people in Oslo just risking losing their healthcare providers. And then we had to do a lot of work together with other organizations like FRI. I think Skeiverden also went in there and everything. And we had to do this massive mobilization of teaching, and like it was part political work, but also part like educational work for the bureaucracy. What is this? What is your responsibility within the healthcare sector as government bodies and so on? All the way from the department level, directorate level, and down to the communal level. You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And then we had to do massive, like, spread knowledge and awareness and everything, and then slowly but steadily gaining the knowledge. And then the Directorate for Health went out and publicly stated that it's the firste linje.
Primary service. That means
Yes.
GPs, doctors,
Health stations.
Health stations are allowed to give out hormones if they have competence in the field.
Yeah, that hormone treatment should be at that level of healthcare. So that's an important statement that they came with there. And we have tried to kind of like follow that up and like, okay, if that's the statement, if that's how it's supposed to be, then this should have a snowball effect, but still it haven't. But HKS still stands, much thanks to the work of HKS, but also that massive mobilization and spread of knowledge that we did. And then from one emergency to the next, we have the terror attack that happened the 25th of June. And I think everybody kind of like are kind of up to date to that and have their experiences from that. What happened right after, like the first hours after, is this massive mobilization within the queer organizations, trying to get as many on board as possible. A lot of this mobilization was contingent on people knowing each other. And then dragging people in. I have a friend from this organization, these should be represented, these should be represented, and so on. So one thing is what the organizations did, but also what the individual people and individual activists did to make sure that everybody was on board and as many people as possible came. And then we had a lot of meeting with government and with police, and it took so much resources out of the queer community. And personally, I regret a lot of the dialogue meetings and stuff that we joined in, because we could have done something that was more productive, that took care of our community, instead of taking care of kind of like the political ego of government, having the emotional need to meet with the community and everything, and then not giving anything back. But we had the self-care day in Oslo, the 17th of July, together with queer youth, and there were 60 people that showed up. And we had a little bit of breakfast, we had some mindfulness, we had a self-care workshop, we had some lunch, we had workout, creative workshop, and then we had like bathing with spa stuff. things that you put on your face and it's nice smell. And a lot of people were very appreciative of that day. So I think we should have more self-care days.
I also want to mention that with Skeiverden Vest and FRI, we did was minority stress. Yeah, a workshop, and there were psychologists as well here in Bergen.
And we had the solidarity markings also, both in Bergen and Oslo. And then also there's something that happened at Riksen, because all of a sudden people started to get, you know, when you go to your GP and they send the henvisning, the recommendation to the Riksen.
Referrals,
Yeah, the referrals. All of a sudden people are just like, jumping ahead in line. But what I've heard is that Riksen got a pålegg. I'm not good with my English vocabulary.
Does anybody know what that
Mandate, thank you. So Riksen got a mandate that they had to shorten down their waiting lines, but it's only limited to the first time, like the first consultation. And after that, we are back to having the months going
9
on.
months.
So during the fall, the people that have had their first referral has had like just some weeks, maybe 1 month, 1.5, and then whoo, all of a sudden I'm there. So that's a thing that just happened, and then, yeah. Did you want to say something, Isa?
I just said, like, the waiting time between your first appointment to the next varied before from 3 months to maybe 4. Now they're up to 9 months.
Yeah, because they fast-tracked that first one, and then the waiting, yeah. And then we had Trans Pride in August, and that was lovely. We tried to do that digitally, like we do with TOV, and we had Oslo, Trondheim, and Bergen.
I want to shout out to Jennifer, that's sitting over there.
Yeah!
Because they organized Trans Pride.
Yeah, shout out to Jennifer. Woo! Oh, and also we had a meeting up north, like Transtreff Nord-Norge. And it was on a Monday afternoon. It's the first kind of like event that we have had far up north. Monday afternoon, and it was like some pizza, and then 50 people showed up. And that's wild, especially since a lot of the hospitals up north is kind of like, no, we don't have any treatment because there's now no foundation. There's not enough patients to have any treatment. And like, we have 50 people that shows up on a Monday afternoon. Like, yeah.
Yeah, people drove for hours to get
People
there.
took airplanes. Yeah. And then we are back here to the Trans Awareness Week, and that's been the last year. In short terms, what we also been doing the last year is Helse Vest have started again, or just continued. This has been going on for several years already. Some workshops about how to develop the best possible healthcare for gender incongruency with children and young adults. And then we participate in these workshops, and they first had a deadline for the 1st of October to make a proposition with the Helse Vest, Helse Midt, and Helse Nord for how to collectively have helsetilbud.
Health offer.
Health offer, yeah. And then these workshops are a little bit weird, and they have this tight timeline that they have an external consultation firm called Innomed that is kind of like helping them with the organization stuff. And then it's kind of like basic questions like what would the best healthcare be, and like we don't know, and it's kind of like this is just a brainstorming and everything, but they have been doing this for many years, and like the decentralization should have happened 5 years ago, and we're still having these workshops. And alongside those workshops, they got an extension, by the way. So it's no longer 1st of October. It's extended until December. We don't think they might make it to December. But alongside that, up north, there's been
They've
2 positions.
yeah, they've put out the ad for 2 positions, a doctor and a specialist in the north, which is good for them, but at the same time they're not finished with the work that they're doing by developing how it would look like.
Yeah. So we don't know if like is North breaking out of this kind of like workshop thing going on? Are they doing their own thing, or are they just going to hire these people, and then after Helse Vest and Innomed delivers their report, are they going to change something? We don't know. And then the 18th of August, PKI sent a letter, formal letter containing 4 questions to all the helseforetak in
Health regions, basically, yeah.
Yeah, so we have 4 health regions, and then we have helseforetak within that. So we had 19 recipients for the letter, asking about health treatment, especially for trans women when it comes to hair removal. And the questions was like, what is your health offer? How do you give a personalized health treatment? What are your options for different hair and skin types? And if you reject someone, on what basis do you reject them? That was basically the 4 questions. And none of the hospitals gave the same answer, except for those that were like, no, we don't have any offer. So, and then we get a few answers that is like, no, but there's somebody that is creating a generalized health care when it comes to hair removal. And then we're like, who are these somebody? And so on. And then we have the hospital in Oslo, Oslo University Hospital, and their skin department that treats the majority, or I think the majority of trans women when it comes to hair removal. And then the overlege, the top doctor, at that department was like, yeah, I've heard something about it, but nobody talked to us. And that's super weird. And then we tried to get in contact with the health directorate, and they were like, the central board there went like, I don't understand the word that you're saying. None of your words are giving me any hits in my base. Could you send this in an email? Like, they didn't even know where to send our questions within the Directorate of Health. But then we got the head department doctor of the skin department in US to snoop around a little bit. And then he came back with, it's Helse Vest that is doing this. But during all the workshops, they never said anything about them coordinating and harmonizing anything of the health treatment when it comes to hair removal. So we are like, what is this secrecy going on and everything? But anyway, PKI is going to publish, in short, the answers that we got from each health region and each hospital, so that you can check your local hospital or your health region and see whatever they are claiming to offer right now, and you can follow that up. And of course, we're going to go to the health directorate and go, hey, there's a lot of different answers here. This is a postcode lottery. You need to do something so that everybody has the same health care going on.
Yeah.
And this was me talking. Did you want to add something?
Yes, I just want to also add that we have parents that also host these digital meetups, which are really, really good for gender creative kids. So the parents meet up and they discuss things, and it's like once a month now.
And we had the summer camp. I forgot about the summer camp for trans creative, gender creative and trans children and their families. And I think it's a really nice summer camp because it's not just parents and then their kid that is either trans or gender creative or how they want to term it, but it's also cisgendered siblings, and then cisgender siblings could meet other cisgender siblings, and it's just like a really nice family camp. But anyway, what I wanted us to talk about is this organization of the decentralization of the healthcare and everything, and then we have Tonja, who's writing a master's thesis on it. So if you want to enlighten us on what you've been looking into, or if you have any findings, is there something that you can tell before you publish?
Yeah, I'm looking at it in a perspective of executing politics, and there are theories about when there is when it's easy to implementate something and when it's hard to implementate something, and of course if it's a high grade of conflict and if the goals seems unclear for the people involved, and if it's not followed up with the resources both in money, equipment, and in education, then things tends to be very much up to the people that are executing the implementation of the new politics. And my professor, he has been reading this and reading the new guidelines and stuff, and he's like calling it like an implementation hall of hell. So, and I've been talking to Jannike van der Roos. She's been doing research on this, and she's a member of PKI. Nice. And she was sending her regards, and she's not terribly optimistic about what's happened. But on the other hand, when I'm working with this and when I'm looking at it in a little bit like distance cold analytic sense of view, I can see that things are changing and there are stuff that are coming back, and especially that the government and also the parliament, like the Conservative Party, is pushing this on. So there is like the Høyre is actually asking questions, how far have things come and stuff. So there is a pressure in a political way to make this happen faster, which in one sense it's much more positive, like in USA or Russia or whatever. So in some senses I feel that we have strong allies on our sides that are pushing, but then what it seems to be necessary is that they're actually putting budgets and funding stuff and maybe being more clear than they have been. And I also look very much forward to hear the results of what the Helseforetaks are actually going to tell that they're doing. That's what I'm waiting for now. Yeah.
Because the timeline of these new regional centres, I feel like they've set an ambitious date to when they're going to be up and running, which is in September 2023 in the regions. And if Helse Vest is the ones responsible for implementing them, then they did also say that they were ambitious. So, but it's going to be interesting in what they will implement and won't.
But you also said something about like the level of knowledge, and then there's a lot of like misinformation within the trans debate and just in general, and like it's so weird because it is educated doctors who goes out and like gives misinformation, disregarding their education and professional integrity and so on, and then kind of like health providers and people that are educated as doctors go out and have almost a personal agenda and pushing that forward, but have the legitimacy of being a doctor. And then in Norway, we don't have a framework that says this and this gives you the competence to work with gender incongruency. There's nothing written or anything. Anybody can claim to have that knowledge, and anybody can disclaim you from having that knowledge. Is that something that you look into? And especially kind of like the conspiracy theories, like it's not just misinformation, it's straight up like conspiracy theories coming from professionals.
In political science, there is two quite important axes of change, and it's on an institutional level, and we have the institution of Riksen, right, which is actually fighting to hold on to their monopoly, and that's very common. It's like almost like a law of institutions that when you have era and you have your own domain of problems that you will take care of for the society, you tend to keep on to those problems. This is your field of the society which you want to keep on solving in your own terms of the word. And then it's the war between professions. And if you go back to history in treating trans people, it has been the psychiatrists that have kind of owned. They started with the treatment of transsexuals, and they've kept on to that for a long time. And like when the university in Kristiansand and Espen Ester, Pirelli Benestad and his wife, they've started this thing about educating sexologues, which is in a way a totally new profession. And you can see how the psychiatrists and the doctors that have been working with this is holding on, and they're not actually willingly letting new groups with maybe more knowledge in the specific team we're talking about getting into the field in a way. They're shielding their also their part of the of the problem and the agenda.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say them, they, them for Espen Ester, but that's
they, them, yes,
yeah.
they, them, yeah.
And
Maybe they're actually using stuff. It's not only this; it's also a debate where when we look into this, it's quite grim. The one point where you can see that this is very important for a lot of people is that, for instance, in the mandate, utvalget, in the when you have this yeah, and also after they've made guidelines, there has been this and the committees are leaking, and there's like almost personal conflicts between the members. And Espen Ester, they're actually using their status as an activist against them in a way. So it's more tough and harder climate than in an ordinary. If you go to a guideline made to treat cancer, you often doesn't find this kind of hard conflicts. So it's quite rough.
Yeah, because if you are a cancer patient, I mean, I assume that all doctors would then want to provide the best health care for cancer patients. But it's very clear that there are so much fear and anxiety, feelings, and that this is a whole new patient group, blah blah blah. But it isn't that hard. It's not hard to see us as people, to then treat us as people, because we know what we want, what we need to feel better.
And so you said briefly, Tonje, the battles between professions, right? And that's also something that we heard in the media, that the battle with HKS and Riksen is like the battle of professions. Yeah. And then because those two camps are championing two different approaches to transgender healthcare. So you have Riksen that wants to have the gatekeeper approach, and then you have Riksen that wants to have the informed consent approach. The latter one is the one that is generally used within healthcare. If you want a knee prosthetic knee or not, you are the patient, you do the decision for your body, but you get the information. This is the statistics of a likely knee prosthetic surgery going bad or going well, and then you make your decision on your own. And then what I've been noticing about this Helsevest and the workshops is that they are limiting the healthcare that they want to establish and harmonize across the regions to just children, teenagers, and young adults. And for me, it's not clear if the young adult stops at 30 or at 22. Like, they haven't set a year for that either, anyway. And my thought is, because I've lost all trust and hope, is that I'm fearing that they are establishing the healthcare for young people and kids because it's easier to argument for the gatekeeper model for that age group than for the informed consent, because kids are kids and so on. So if they start with that age group and that patient group, they can implement the gatekeeping model, and then that will form and shape the rest of the healthcare for adults and elderly people.
Yeah, and a new thing is that I found out that they're going to change name. They're not going to be called. They're going to be called Nasjonal behandlingstjeneste for kjønnsbekreftende behandling.
Ay. At least it's kjønnsbekreftende, not kjønnskorrigerende.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we got an email at the post@pki.no. I forgot this. I didn't know that this thing existed until we got the email. Undersøkelseskommisjonen for helse og omsorg have sent
Investigation Committee for Care and Health.
Yeah. Sent us an email and like, oh, we have gotten some warnings and we are looking, or they have been looking into this. There were some families that have given like some warnings and stuff, and they have been looking into it, and they want to present the results to us. And that's happening this week, I think, the 17th.
Yeah. On Friday.
That we're gonna have that meeting.
They will present it to you.
Yeah, and that's so weird because we have had some emails back and forth, because I think it would be natural to engage with the patient organization in the beginning of the...
Not the end.
Yeah. So we are a little bit confused. Like, are you done and are just going to give this to us to check how we are going to react? Or are you doing the investigation and want to give us what you know so far? And then we don't know what kind of power or mandate that this commission holds. Like, will you just give a report to the health committee at the parliament and then we're done? Or do they actually hold any power where they can smick, you've been doing bad? So that's a super interesting thing.
It's also a sign that the political parties and the politicians are interested in this. And if you look into the guidelines, both towards the thing about the view on gender and on the question about who's going to get the treatment, there is a change from what Riksen was doing before, a big change. So the framework is actually towards informed consent and towards treating non-binary peoples. So it's very important, I think, that we are mobilizing the political parties and the connections we have to follow this up and push them in the same direction, because there are other forces that, as you well know, want to like reform back the whole thing, and which is quite angry for how far things has come. So
I'm just wondering, after you're done with your master, what's the goal, or would you want to implement it into politics?
Yeah, that's the thing about science. Then it's more about telling what we are focusing on is actually it's more about how guidelines could be better in a way, right? Which is maybe not helping this cause, but when you are putting the light on what's happening and how they use a guideline which is a compromise for postpone treatment and holding on to old stuff. It will hopefully help to a thing you can tell politicians and Helsedirektoratet. How could you do this? It's quite funny because Helsedirektoratet have something which people are laughing about in the political science departments, because you have the guidelines and they have issued, which is called retningslinjer på norsk, and they made retningslinjer for retningslinjer. Guidelines for guidelines. So I'm actually gonna compare the guidelines here with the golden standards they've made themselves. And that's in political science, that's a funny exercise, but it's also it's quite clear then that you can hold them up to something, which is a bit unique.
Okay, but you said something. I want to move on. Because like in some we are just waiting, looking at what's happening and trying to stay on top of it. So now we're waiting for the report or conclusion for Helse Vest and their project and Innomed that they are hired to do this. We are staying on top of that. We're ready to support or critique, most likely the latter. And then it's the UCOM, the commission that is doing the gransking, the research going on. And then we have Norges idrettshøyskole. This Tuesday, they have a case for their board, and the name of the case is Transgender People in Sports. And nobody have the case files or anything, the sakspapir or anything. But we have had innspillsmøte.
A dialogue meeting,
Yeah. PKI and other organizations have had dialogue meetings with Norges idrettsforbund. I don't know their
Norway Sports Foundation.
Yeah, Sports Foundation. So all of the different sports, they are collected within this umbrella organization. And so they are super cool. Like they are like, okay, we want inclusion, but not just inclusion. We want like the joy of sports for everybody. Like that's their goal. And I'm like, oh, that's more than just participation. Like if you want like everybody to have a joy for this. And the International Olympics Committee in 2016, things started to change. And now they have released like a 10-point framework for how to include transgender people and gender incongruent, gender non-conformant people into sports, and it's an excellent framework, and it's actually based on real science and research and so on. So major shout out to the International Committee of Olympic Committee on that, and the Norwegian Sports Foundation is obliged to follow that framework, and then all the sports foundations that are a member of the Norwegian Sport Foundation also have to follow that. So this is something going on with that process, how to implement inclusion of transgender people and gender non-conforming people into sports. And there's a difference between breddesport, like...
Just give examples of what that is, because I'm not a sports person.
Oh yeah, so that's for like amateurs, beginners, and so on. So that's your local bowling alley having a bowling competition. That's breddesport. And then you have like toppidrett. That's like Olympic level. That's like the national team and so on. So there's a difference between the local team and the national team within the sports. And then the general rule is that within the local sports, the breddidrett, that's like no worries, you just join wherever you join. And then a lot of the specific sports are kind of like, no, not national competitions, not when it gets serious, then we don't want transgender people to participate. So that's also kind of like an issue going on. Like in triathlon, the International Triathlon Federation have decided that any triathlon are considered to be toppidrett. And it's not. Like, believe me, it's not. It's mostly breddeidrett. idrett. And then, so there's a lot of stuff going on with the sports things, and hopefully we will get something in the news, on
next week.
Yeah, the week coming up. And then also, I've heard that you've done some other work and research when it comes to kriminalomsorg.
Not research. I've been working in the kriminalomsorg.
Yeah.
Like, what do you call that?
Criminal care?
A criminal? No.
Kriminalomsorg.
No, I've been, but it's in Norway we have kriminalomsorg i frihet. So it's people working outside prisons.
Rehabilitation kind of thing?
No, it's a punishment. We have two different kinds of punishments. It's samfunnsstraff, community service, and we have also had that you can work off your fines. If you have a lot of fines from, could be anything from traffic to more serious things, and you haven't been able to pay them for a long time, you can come to Gamle Bergen out here and work them off. It's not like it's a very polite and very nice way of treating people. It's not like the American chain gang stuff.
But isn't that a labor camp?
Yeah.
Like, do you choose your work or you just put into work? Isn't that like...
Yes. You have to...
that sounds like slavery with extra steps.
Yes.
Okay.
You have to come there and see. My son, who is 10, turning 11, he's been there a lot and eaten lunches with the prisoners and stuff, a lot. And he says we're like Politimester Bastian.
Okay.
It's very important.
He's developing a god complex going on.
It's a lot of wafflers and nice talks. And one thing that I've discovered, it's always like in places like that, it's actually røvere. What do you call that in
thieves?
Burglars?
Nah, røvere.
Burglars?
Yeah, what is actually that? You know, when you
bandits?
Bandits, you know, it's actually bandits watching other bandits, but we haven't been caught yet, right? So there is always lots of stories and stuff, but it's been funny to work there as a transgender person, and generally in the environments I am, also in the boatyards I work. I do tend to sometimes think it could be a problem up front, and then I find out that it's quite the opposite. And of course, when I'm treating, I've been working with murderers and torpedoes and stuff like that, and they're actually quite accepting, not questioning me, But that's the thing. When I saw a police car stopping a car right outside here when I came now, and it's not actually the first thing you do. If you're stopped by a police, you're not questioning that police gender or anything else, right? Because when I'm there, I'm actually what do you call that? Maktperson, or I have
authority.
I am an authority. So there you have this old trans woman being an authority over one very big torpedo guy, right? And they're actually respecting that in a way. Or they are. We haven't had any problems. So and that's a small thing, but it's also a picture that trans people are, as we get more and more, we are getting to be more people, and we are filling up more positions in the society. So I think that's a good thing. But it's not like a team, it's just something that is being accepted. Yeah.
what do you think would happen if any of the bandits kind of like did something outrageous, like they said something or made gestures and so on?
To me?
Yeah, how your employer would have handled that? Would they get more punishment, or would it be like?
That's the thing about being able. The thing about kriminalomsorget frihet, it's that's actually something you're trusted to do. And these people are taking the bus to come to us, and they're taking the bus back. So they're out in the society already. And if they didn't treat me or any of the other people right, they would have to go to prison. So they're not treating us badly, they're treating us good.
Yeah.
But we are treating them well as well, so it's basically a two-way thing. They have asked me if I would want to work in the prison outside Bergen. And I find that a bit more difficult, but that's because I don't like to be in lock there myself, even if it's just for a day. It's quite it's intrusive in a way.
Yeah.
You have to leave your phone. You have to, if you work there as a guard, you have to use the uniform, and it's a fairly strict system also for the employees. And the system there, it's different, of course, and stricter than what
And more
I'm used to.
physical, maybe? Like you might be in a physical interaction within prison.
Not normally, because that wouldn't be my work. I would work with them when they're in tool shops or coming there to do a manual work, and that's also actually a privilege. And these people out in the it's so different from the American system, because we work with wood. We are I mean the guys, they treat axes and knives and stuff, you know, all day long. So it's I think sometimes we tend to see the whole thing by what we've seen in American movies, right?
Yeah.
But the whole system in Norway is different. People are trusted. If you can't be trusted to use knives and axes and all sorts of machinery, you wouldn't be there. You have to show that to be trusted. But it's actually happening every day, that people have access to dangerous things that would probably been tied up to the wall or something in another place, or I don't know. But we treat people different in Norway than you do in the United States, I think.
And this is an interesting bridge between our occupations and line of work, because I work in the gym, right? So I'm a personal trainer and a group fitness instructor. And then in that line of work, I also do a lot of like anti-drug educational, Anti-doping Norge and stuff. And the last time I did a workshop there, they gave us a presentation about who are doing steroids and workout-related drugs nowadays. Like, who are these groups? And one of the major groups are inmates in prisons. But they don't do steroids because they work out, but because of the behavioral change of the steroids. They get more aggressive, get less emotional, and it makes it easier to kind of like be in prison, be more aggressive, and assert dominance within the prison and so on. And it's super interesting. And then just like quick trigger warning about the 22nd of July. Something else that was also presented in the workshop is that Anders Behring Breivik, leading up to his terrorist attack, went on this crazy cocktail of ephedrine and steroids in order to get less empathy, less emotion, and be more masculinized to be more of a man in order to go through with the terrorist attack. And that's a super interesting thing, that there is something going on with sports supplements and steroids and prison and the culture there, and something about gender going on. Is this something that you've seen in like, or is that different groups of bandits and then this is inmates?
Yeah, but I've seen it, yes, because and I also talked to people that have stopped and are open about the changes they feel, because are people that come so far that they're maybe on the other side of this. And there's a lot of consequences that people are suffering from after. But I think this thing about hormones and testosterone and how that is affecting us is really interesting, because we also feel that how we are changing by the hormones and see that. And I started to exercise more, and I can see also myself what's happening if I sort of let the testosterone come a little bit back in my body, right? So we are, when we get used to ourselves in this, we can actually almost play a bit with that and feel how things are changing. But I didn't know about Anders Behring Breivik, but he must have like investigated
how to drug himself into being mentally more like a
which
man.
is scaring, of course.
Yeah, it is. And then I totally forgot what I was about to say.
That's okay.
Yeah, that was the thing, because I find it so weird, because I'm transmasculine, right? And then 2 short periods I've been able to get hold of testosterone. So 2 times 3 months I went on that for the last 1 year. And then what I realized was that I got less aggressive. Like, I got more patient, I got more like, that's okay, more chill. And then when I forced off because I don't have any supply anymore, I'm like, oh, I don't have the temper for this. Like, I get angry, like furious, like I get rage and everything. And it's so weird. Like, I get more aggressive when I'm not having the testosterone, and the testosterone just calms me down and make me into this. Yeah.
I don't know if it calms you down, but I think it at least stabilizes something internally for you.
Yeah.
There is an emotional aspect that, because you know that you're taking it, you know that you're
harmonizing with myself.
Yeah,
and then,
at least for me, I felt that before I started hormones, and then after. Before hormones, my emotional spectrum was chaotic, and after I started, it stabilized, and I felt more calm. And then maybe that's what you're feeling.
Yeah, I've also felt that the opposite way, that when before I got hormones on blue and had to pay for them, and I couldn't afford it, and then you felt it came back, but then I got more aggressive on testosterone, right? So and when it come back, so I think that's a bit mental. What you, yes, it's probably different than when cis people are using this for, as to build muscles or get more aggressive or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, because cis people use hormones for many various things. It's not just this one bad guy, because I feel that was like a turn off to where we should be talking about. But I know many cis people that need to take testosterone or estrogen for many reasons, and it's not just to be a man or be a woman.
Dietary supplements called More Man, More Woman. I'm not sure if those...
Don't buy it. Don't buy it.
But if there's a placebo effect, that's still an effect. Like,
I would still don't buy it.
But I wanted to. I have no track of time whatsoever. I'm just enjoying myself. So it's like
it's 5 minutes.
if I'm having fun, we're going to keep going.
No.
But I wanted to ask about the boat building because I have a certificate for boats, but I don't have a boat.
You can build one
Wink,
with
wink.
Tonya.
But are
So you think the easy way is to build one, the easy way
It's
out?
not.
Yeah, we can be
It's-
pirates and stuff.
You can ask Tonya how old was she when she first built her own boat?
Yeah,
Are you
I was 15 when I,
building from
but I was like,
scratch?
I was very small when I tried to make a boat. I was very, I turned my, I wouldn't know the English word for pulk.
I don't know.
Sled.
Yeah.
Sled. I was like this size when I turned my pulk to a boat, and it sank.
You
And
threw
it-
it on the ocean.
Yeah, because it was winter, so I was sitting in it, and I took speed up on land and out on the sea.
Through the ice?
Yeah, and the ice was stopping then, obviously, and then the water started, and I thought I would float elegantly away, but it I probably was like 6 years or something, and got very angry because it didn't float. So,
But
no.
did you go with it when it sank, or did you
Yeah,
get
but
out?
it was on the beach, but it was
yeah,
really
okay,
cold.
yeah.
It was really cold. I've been a lot of cold. No, but with the last project I've been working of, it's called Hope Cathedral in Fredrikstad, and it's a big barge that is built in the old way that they built wooden barges before, and it's church on top of it, more like a stave church, 13 meters high, with tiles made of plastic from the ocean. And it's not like a Christian thing, it's like ecumenic stuff, and it's the Catholic Church, the Islamic Council in Fredrikstad, and the Buddhists and the Lutheran Church that owns this thing together, and it's built to make people have a hope in the future. And you could discuss this, but in one way, I like the idea that we're trying to build hope for the young people instead of like rip all hope away, and maybe it doesn't harm sometimes to make something beautiful out of ugly stuff, and try to engage people to actually do something themselves. Yeah, maybe it's placebo, but but I like the idea at least.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you to you both, and thank you to the interpreters as well. They've done an amazing job. We have maybe 1 minute for a question if anybody has a question, but no raising of hands I don't see. There will be a DJ set from now until 10. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed getting to know you.
Thank you for watching, and thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoy your evening.